Sunday, I drove out to my land and watched my trees get hauled away. What were once towering pines are now blackened toothpicks. I sat down on a stump, looking out on what used to be a lush and gorgeous mountainside, now a barren, rocky slope. And I thought, how can I possibly sum up this profound loss and my subsequent life-altering journey in only 6 minutes? So I'll start here. On the morning of March 26, 2012, as I sat in my favorite chair by the window in my house, I spotted a plume of smoke. As I talked with my clients on the phone, I noticed it began to expand. After a few hours of denial and indecision, I finally followed the advice of a friend, and I started packing when that white smoke turned into a dark cloud. I stumbled from room to room, and I grabbed what made sense at the time. Our dogs, my husband's leather jacket, my laptop, these boots. I grabbed what didn't make so much sense, like a large computer monitor that I kept smashing against the doorway in my attempt to get out, until I finally put it back on the desk and turned around and walked away. We had prepared like any mountain dweller does. We cleared a defensible space around our property. We upgraded to a metal roof and fire-resistant siding and decking. But the fire didn't care about our upgrades. 30 minutes after I drove away, it consumed my home, eventually leaving 21 families homeless and 3 of my neighbors dead. I'd love to give you an inspiring list of the person I've become and the amazing things I've learned, but it isn't that simple. Perhaps the greatest thing I've learned is that life just doesn't work that way. There isn't some simple 3-step process to waltz your way through grief. There isn't that one inspiring lesson you can laminate and take with you. You know, people say the strangest things after a tragedy. On our first day of cleanup, a friend mused out loud, "It must be so freeing to not have any stuff." Now, I get his sentiment, but staring at the pile of rubble that once was my home, free was not my experience. Devastation was more like it. You know, we live with the illusion that it's our stuff that traps us. And somehow we think that if we lost all our stuff, it would cure what ails us. And if you're the spiritual type, like me, non-attachment is the holy grail, the golden goose, the highest level of attainment. But let me tell you something. Losing all my material possessions did not rid me of attachment. If you took my boots, I'd be pissed. We still look for my husband David's wedding ring. He left it by the sink on his way out on a business trip. We searched through the rubble for days, and we'd heard stories about people extracting family heirlooms from the ashes perfectly intact. So we looked, and even after the bulldozers came and hauled everything away, I still look. A year and a half later, I still look down at the ground as I walk our land, hoping for that little miracle. But here's what I've come to understand. There's nothing inherent to learn in this. We each must choose to find the gifts and learn our own lessons. Some gifts come wrapped in barbed wire, and it's up to each of us to untangle it and find the gem inside. But once you walk through a fire in life, you know you can do it again. And sadly, if you're like most of us, you'll have to do it again and again and maybe again. I've walked through many fires: addiction, cancer, miscarriage, the deaths of dear friends. And I think I finally know what is indestructible about the human spirit. So how do we prepare for the fires in life certain to come our way? Well, remember what we learned as kids? Should we catch on fire? We were taught to stop, drop, and roll. Stop. Don't run from the feelings. Don't run from the grief. Like the fire that consumed my home, I let my grief consume me until I was done. Drop your preconceived ideas of how it should go. It's different every single time. It's different for every single one of us. There isn't some perfect Hallmark card that's going to have the solution. Roll. Just roll with it. One step at a time, one day at a time, 1 minute at a time. So do you want to know what's indestructible about the human spirit? It is our ability in the midst of our devastation to find the gift. Our ability in the midst of devastation to find the gift. So do I know what the gifts are from this fire? You bet. But do I wish it hadn't happened? Every day I wish it hadn't happened. But somehow I like this person I've become better. Just like the splintered forest that my land has become, I'm now ash-covered, broken, traumatized sometimes, and still beautiful. And one thing I saw is all my life I was waiting to arrive somewhere, waiting for a sense of perfection, waiting for life to make sense, waiting for certainty. And since I walked through fire, I wait no more. And now I ask you, what are you waiting for?